hard to keep him in sight, especially in weather where the visibility may be very low or the cloud decks. And so if you start pushing him out too far, it gets to be very challenging to keep him in position where he can react quickly to threats behind you, threats that may be shooting at you, or to get him into position where he can employ his ordnance.
It was improvements to the F-16 and advances in electronics that finally led the Air Force to retire the F-4G, replacing it with the F-16CJ, which now serves as both hunter and killer. The F-16CJ's offensive punch comes from the AGM-88 HARM missiles it carries. It also carries a HARM targeting system, which allows the Wild Weasel pilot to fire his HARM missiles from longer range and with greater accuracy. When it is not accompanied by an EA-6B Prowler, the F-16CJ can also carry an electronic jamming pod for self-protection. The environment of the Wild Weasel mission is different from that of other fighters. The Wild Weasels often operate at very low altitudes, using terrain features such as hills and trees to mask their aircraft from enemy radars.
Flying low to the ground is and it's exciting in its own right just because of the rush of the ground going by you. Flying air to air, though, is, to me, that's what a fighter pilot really is. I enjoy flying air to ground, though, because it offers me a chance to diversify and it keeps all my skills honed, air to air and air to ground, because you have to do both to win the war.
The F-16's suitability to the Wild Weasel mission is due to its particular virtues. It is a small, very agile fighter, ideally suited to either dogfighting or treetop level attack. Because the Wild Weasels will be at the very tip of an attacking strike package, they have to be able to defend themselves against enemy fighters.
In order to get to the target area, you're going to have to fight your way there, and part of that is flying air to air and defending yourself, and if necessary, be offensive in order to get to the target area.
We do quite a bit of air-to-air training. The squadron on a whole is anywhere from 30 to 50% of our sorties would be a ballpark figure. Air-to-air training is, of course, basic to any kind of application of aerial tactics. If you can fly a good air-to-air sortie, then you'll probably be able to do other missions very well.
The F-16 Falcon is much more sophisticated than the older F-4 Phantom it replaced. The Falcon was the first combat aircraft to employ fly-by-wire controls, a method of flight controls relying on computer-assisted stabilization instead of the conventional mechanical and hydraulic systems. Not surprisingly, the F-16 was dubbed the electric jet.
We call it the last of the sports models. It's extremely easy to fly. Very sophisticated electronics, avionics suite make it a system that doesn't require a whole lot of attention on the part of the pilot to flying the airplane. It gives us a lot of freedom to be looking outside and working on the tactical portion of our mission rather than on trying to fly the airplane itself.
It is an age-old rule of air combat that it is the enemy you can't see who is your greatest threat. For this reason, the F-16 was designed to give the pilot unparalleled visibility from the cockpit.
You get an excellent view. The way you're sitting out here, you really can't even see your wings, so you have an incredible amount of field of view around you, either to your right, to your left, and in front of you, and even behind you, because you're sitting above most of the fuselage of the aircraft. So it offers you the best view of any aircraft in the Air Force now.
Well, it's different than most airplanes in that you don't really sit inside it, you sit on top of it. There's very little airplane around you, and the canopy rails are in fact down around your hips. So you have a sensation of being out in space all by yourself. We think of it as being on the tip of a pencil, and it's almost like the airplane is attached to you. Because of the nature of the flight controls, fly-by-wire, a stick that doesn't move, you have the sensation of thinking the airplane instead of flying it. It's so responsive. If you want to go somewhere, it does it. So it's very easy to fly.
The complexity of Wild Weasel missions, even during peacetime training exercises, requires considerable preparation.
Okay, I've got 20 seconds to teach
Each mission begins with a pre-flight briefing.
Our mission today is to support strikers who are going to be passing through our target area. We want to suppress threats for a 10-minute period, and just briefly want to do corridor ops for that entire 10-minute TOS. I'll set up the scenario so that we go Wild Weasel versus fighter. I'll designate that. I'll designate the blot so that we're avoiding each other by 1,000 feet. Okay, now in the target area, Craig.
We're facing a divisional size threat array with all the associated radars and the surface-to-air missiles, AAA. Okay, things to remember, fence check, entering the target area, think about the threat. As soon as we hit 51 heading up towards the north there, we plan to stimulate the threat. We'll drive straight at them into about 10 miles. Shot timing, we want to space our shots to cover our time on station. We've got 10 minutes in the area and want to be getting missiles off to cover that whole period. First one we'll call a kilo type attack, basically in-trail shot. You'll see us turn inbound to the threat with no other visual signals. You'll end up in about a 1 to 2 mile trail there. The preparatory signal for the shot is a wing rock. Okay, when you see the wing rock, go ahead and set your switches for primary threat if we break left and secondary threat if we break right.
The Wild Weasel can significantly impact the success or failure of a mission because we are the only unit around, we are the only type of aircraft or system available in the world now that can go after these mobile emitters and these mobile AAA and SAM sites, pick them out, identify them, and either take them out with our missiles or else send in some other aggressors to take them out as well. The strike package is going to try to punch a hole in there, and that's kind of what we want to try to do, is open the hole, make it safer for them to pass through and then come on back. We're the first ones in, we can protect ourselves air to air. We're the last ones out, again we can protect ourselves. However, it's a little discomforting to go in there without any other air assets guarding you and to come out behind everybody else, including any stragglers that they may have or somebody who's sustained battle damage. Because although we're going to try to protect ourselves, given a chance, we'll try to protect anybody who's coming out that's on our side. So it makes for a lot of work. We'll take as many harms into battle as we can. The harm is, we like to call it one of those wish you were dead weapons, because once it comes off the rail, if the emitter is still up there and emitting at the time it comes into impact, the harm will not only destroy it explosively, and in some instances has been known to spear the radar antenna itself. It's that accurate. So we will take as many harms out there as we can. Being a good Wild Weasel crew, you have to be able to talk and coordinate, and there's just so much going on. And all the TAF, I think it's probably the single hardest job that there is to be very good at it, because you just have to know so much. Not only do we use everybody else's ordnance, but we use our own, and so we have to know everything about all of that as well as all the threat systems as well.